Okay. So welcome everyone. If this is your first IIIF community call, we're glad that you're here. We hold these calls every month, and they're an opportunity for people from the IIIF community to present on new technologies, for folks to hash out and discuss technology changes and changes to the specifications, and to see cool and interesting demos of things that people are doing with IIIF resources. First order of business, while I have a bunch of you here, is that I would like to remind everyone about our online meeting. The online meeting is happening November 12th through 14th. It is a fully remote conference experience, and this year we will have a series of lightning talks, so those real quick, exciting demos that people like, and workshops and training opportunities. So the call for proposals, there's a link to it in the agenda. It will be open through this weekend. It's a really, really lightweight call for proposals. You can drop your idea in there and you'll still have a few weeks to come up with exactly what you'd want to present. And we encourage first timers in particular to put in a submission. If you have questions about that, you can send me an email. I will put it in the agenda or send me a message on Slack. Happy to discuss it. But if no one else has anything that they want to talk about today, and I'm looking through and no one is giving me the eyes like they're dying to talk, we will jump right into our presentation. So today we have the group behind Recogito Studio, which is from Performant software. Jamie Folsom, Rainer Simon, and Anandita Sempere. And I am going to turn it over to them to start their demo, and we'll reserve some time at the end for Q&A. Okay, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jamie.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. Thanks to everyone for having us today. Can everyone hear me all right? My audio good? All right, good. Terrific. Thanks again. We're excited to be here. And so yes, I'll just quickly introduce myself and my two colleagues here. Jamie Folsom, I'm with Performant Software. We are a small software outfit based in the US with a focus on the digital humanities. So we do lots of digital humanities work for hire projects, and we're starting to build and launch a suite of products as well that meet the needs that we see across those projects as we do them. And I'm joined by Anandita Sempere, who's one of our members of our staff. She is a project manager and a digital humanist in her own right. I'll let her say more about herself when she starts her part of the presentation. And also Rainer Simon. And just to be clear, while Anandita and I are both with Performant, this project, this work on Recogito Studio has been very much a collaboration with Rainer, who is not a member of Performant staff, but we're thrilled to have been able to work with him on this and other projects that were over the years. He's a great collaborator and a real innovator in this space. So that's, I'm sure he'll say more about his role as well when he does his part of the demonstration. Okay, so just really quickly, what you're looking at here is the in very early stages of a documentation site for Recogito Studio. We're just about to launch version 1.0 or release version 1.0. Actually, version 1.1 is almost ready to. This will become a more capable and fully kind of richer resource for documentation about the application over time. But it is for right now a kind of one-stop shop where you can get to pages about the how to self-host it, how to contact us to have us host it for you, and how to get support if you're a user or you're trying to self-host it for your own purposes. Recogito Studio is an open source application. It's a web application. It has roots in two camps or two previous projects. One is Recogito itself, of which Rainer is the main developer, was the main developer over many years. That was a project of the Pelagios project, now the Pelagios Network, and was in and of itself a very capable annotation platform, but began to be kind of creaky and long in the tooth. And Rainer can say more about that. And another platform, which I was a member of the team that built this other platform called, excuse me, called Annotation Studio, funded by the NEH, built at MIT, and focused on classroom annotation. So I was involved in that project. Reiner was involved with the original Recogito, and we were approached jointly by the University of Bonn in Germany to build a successor to both of those two tools. Their focus and their interest is very much on the classroom, and they were interested in having us help them build a platform for collaborative annotation for use in the undergraduate classroom. So that was the original focus of this kind of new project. But just as Recogito itself and Annotation Studio also have applications in kind of more research and library environments, Recogito Studio, we think, does too. It is extensible while it has a focus on browser-based annotation of text and image, and of course, IIIF image in particular, and TEI text. It also has an infrastructure which allows for the development of plugins or extensions, which allow you to add to what the capabilities of the platform do. So it's open source, as I mentioned, and it's built from scratch for this new project, and we think is really promising in terms of its capabilities. Let's see, I'll quickly mention, that you can, and I'll come back to this at the end, but you can reach us from this is for recogitostudio.org. You can reach us from here. Look forward to your questions. And that's my part of the presentation, and I will come back to kind of roadmap and future directions for this project after the more exciting parts, which are sort of the demos of the actual interface. But with that, maybe I'll hand it over to Reiner to lead us into a demonstration of the actual application, and then Anandita will give us another perspective as well.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so I'm going to show you a little bit about the annotation user interface. I mean, as Jamie said, the platform has become quite big, so it has features especially for classroom work, for organizing your content, for organizing your projects, for subdividing projects into assignments to assign to specific students. Also, there's text annotation support for TEI documents and PDF. So I'm not going to cover this today, but I'll focus exclusively on image annotation. But if you have an interest in the other aspects as well, then definitely do get in touch with us. But to keep it short, I'll share my screen and show you a little bit of the user interface. So you should see my screen. Yeah, so this is the start screen. As I said, won't dwell too long on it. So here you see cards for individual projects. I have a test project here, which I'm going to open, lots of test documents. I just want to show you the process of getting a IIIF manifest in. So I've browsed the Bodleian site just before to pick a manifest. So here's a nice kind of partially digitized version of the Divine Comedy. You will be familiar with the Bodleian interface, so it's quite nice because you also get direct access to the manifest, and that's what you are able to import into Recogito. So let's take the manifest. I'm just going to quickly copy the URL here. And we're going to add this as a document. So there's a document library, which is managed, can be managed by the institution. But in our case, we'll import from the manifest directly, which you just copied. The first thing you see, as you paste the manifest, it's going to be validated. We support presentation manifest version 2 and also version 3. And also we support individual image manifests, those kind of info JSON manifests. You can also drop in there for MPI, V2 and V3, I think. So let's import that. Takes a while. Connection might be a bit slow today with Zoom on. Yeah. So here it is. We now have it imported. I'm going to open it. And here you see, yeah, so that's the image annotation interface. So it looks familiar, I guess. So you have your zoomable image as you're used to. You have your sidebar with the thumbnail images. The sidebar can be fold it out and unfold it so you get the full screen view. And most importantly, yeah, up here, so you have the sidebar, you have the right sidebar. Here you have the list of annotations. At the moment, we don't have them. And in the middle, you have your main tools here. So right now I have the move tool selected, which doesn't do anything except navigate the image, but you also have the drawing tools here. At the moment, it's simply a rectangle. And there's also a polygon drawing tool. So you click once to start. You can still move the image if you want. So if you want to create bigger annotations, you can still move around while you're drawing. And you have another one. So these tools are also pluggable. So in the future, so this is really kind of the first initial version that we have. There are already plugins for things like circle or ellipse selection. These are going to come. Also improved polygon selection at some point, where you will be able to add points, for example. Right. Another thing here, which I think is is interesting. So the whole concept of Recogito is that it's a collaborative tool. So we can work together in real time, as we'll see afterwards. But you also can create private annotations. So these annotations will be visible only to you. You can see it here in this little icon, which changes. And then no other user will see this also if you share the document. By the way, you don't actually need the sidebar. You can also work without the sidebar. In this case, you will get those pop-ups. Yeah, what else? Color coding. So color coding options are something that was requested frequently by our users. So there are some options which will also, I'm sure, will, expand in the future. You can, for example, color code your annotations differently by whether it's a private annotation or a public annotation. And you could also see this same kind of color coding reflected in the boxes here. So if you look at this, these boxes inherit the color coding from the shapes. On this side, as I said, so we have on the one hand the thumbnail strip, but we also have a panel called filters. So you can either hide or show all the annotations. So the currently selected one, yeah, the currently selected one stays on always. Otherwise, you can remove. And you can filter by different categories. At the moment, we don't really have a lot to filter on, so you can filter by the creator. So at the moment, I'm the one who created all the annotations. But let's, for example, create an annotation with a tag. I'll call this tag my tag. And we create another annotation with my other tag. And you'll see those tags pop up here. And by filtering, I can show only the annotations with my tag or with my other tag. That's this one here. And same thing. Yeah, I think that might, let's see. Yeah, so you also get the color coding by tag. And again, the color coding is reflected down here. Yeah, I think that's it from the basics of the user interface. I think I might hand over to Anindita, and then we'll also maybe show the collaborative work. I just jump into your project with my user so people can see what it looks like if other people work on the same document with you at the same time.
Yeah, that sounds great. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the use cases. I am a scholar by training, so I'm going to just go in as a professor or a scholar and show you how this might be used kind of in action. So what I've done is created a project that's an example of a classroom use of the annotations. So in this sample course, we're looking at some romantic texts. And here we have, Frankenstein as a TEI document where you can go through and annotate very specifically, like looking at text annotations, and the interface is exactly the same. But then you could also look at the original manuscript. So this is the type of thing that you might do in a classroom setting where you can go in and compare the original manuscript of something to an edited version and have students kind of working back and forth between these different environments. Same thing as a scholar, you can do actual scholarship by pulling in these manifests and then working on the documents themselves in collaboration with other colleagues, other scholars. And this is kind of how Recogito Studio is being used in the wild. We have this at over 20 universities right now, and we have classrooms who are using these to annotate kind of socially. And then there are things that the professors will have in there, like professors will give prompts, instructions, how to use tags, and then students will come in and they can annotate, and they can also respond to each other's annotations. So, when you click on an annotation, this is one thing that happens also, is you will jump exactly to the comment that you're looking at. So you can move back and forth between the document and these annotations. And Reiner, if you want to jump in, I am in the document that we were discussing earlier today, the Frankenstein section 1. And if you want to show what it looks like for you to be logged in and to annotate at the same time. One thing that you'll see here is that there are annotations in different colors. And this is because the instructor created kind of like a read-only set of instructions that can be applied to different sections. And then you don't have to recreate annotations and things. Students can just come in and then respond and fill things out accordingly. So, Reiner, did you find it or no? Do you need a link?
Sorry, I think I might be logged in with the wrong user, but give me a second.
All right, I can also send you the link if you need it.
While we're waiting, I see a question in the chat from Brittany Lapierre about the named entity marking feature. Thanks a lot for that question. And that is something that certainly has come up, and we are actually in conversations with various possible stakeholders about adding that kind of functionality as an extension. So we can talk more about that when we get to the Q&A. By all means, if you have other questions, please do put them in the chat and we'll try to get to all of them when we wrap up the demo.
And I'll show, as we're doing this, we can also filter by the different creators. So we can look specifically at who is participating in these conversations. And that also filters both the annotations and what's on the document. So if you can see this. And so you can also use tagging to kind of prompt how you want people to interact with this. All right. See something else.
Do you want to talk at all about those layers?
Yeah, so if you have two different classes that want to use the same document that just came in, do you have to import the manifest twice? No. So Reiner was showing the document library. So, you can use, I've actually set it up so there are two different sections using the same exact document. And we can, the way that I set this up is that I have it so that you can set which layers are visible to each group. So the base assignment basically has the instructor's comments on here. And then I can decide if I want section 2, for example, to see section 1's comments or not. So we have these annotations basically described as layers, but then the documents themselves are only in here at one point. So if I go into documents, add a document, you'll see that there are, that you can see what I have added in here as it's only in here one time. And then it's part of my library, and I can just add it to different assignments. So you can reuse any of the documents that come in, and you don't have to go searching for them again, which is really nice. All right. Any other questions with that? Ryan, were you able to get in?
No, sorry, I somehow I couldn't get it working at the moment.
All right. Well, I'll also add that the annotations can include videos, and we can also have images in there. So that's another feature with these with the way that we're annotating. This is a PDF. I'm going to grab. I think this one has an image annotation in here. So we have a couple of different things, and anything that you put in here, you can also export. So you can export a CSV of the annotations for, to archive it if you would like, or, if you want to do other work with it.
Do we have an example handy of the geotagging?
Yes, I was just about to say that.
All right, good.
I don't think I have IIIF with the geotagging, but it would work the same way. So
this is the first extension that Reiner has built. Basically, extensions just at the moment, what they do is they allow you to add more than one body to your annotation. So this is all web annotation standard compliant. So the target is the selection, the first body is the comment, and extensions allow you to add further bodies to that same annotation. So in addition to a comment, you could add, in this case, it's a geotag to the annotation. Yeah.
And then what you can do is you can look at a map of the different locations that you have tagged. And then again, you can grab a screenshot of the map that you've created or download the GeoJSON. And this works with the IIIF as well. But I was just working in text. Here's another one. Going back to Frankenstein work.
Can you just paste the link to me to this text document, for example?
Which one?
The one you just had open. Not this one, because that's on the Pelagus instance.
Okay.
That's why it didn't work, probably. Yeah, this one, for example.
Okay. Do you want the text one or do you want the IIIF?
The text one. The text one. So let's give it another try.
There we go.
Yeah, finally.
So you can see that we have an what are you, an anonymous papyrologist?
Yeah, we don't have animals. We have all sorts of obscure professions that have a use for annotation. I think that's the common topic.
So you can see right now that Reiner's anonymous account is currently entering a comment, or an annotation, I should say. This is a test. And I can write back, it succeeded. So you can have the conversations here with the annotations and the replies, and you can see what the other person is doing as you're annotating. So if you're using this in either a scholarly setting or in a classroom, you can actually just have everything update as you're working on it, which is really nice. See more questions coming in through the chat.
Yeah, so annotations, are annotations then saved in the back end? Yes, these are persisted as they're created, and then propagated to all of the other users of that document in real time. So they are persisted, and they are also become visible on other people's browsers. There's also a question about export to RDF. I believe right now the only export we have, actually we have two different kinds of export at the moment. One is CSV export from any kind of document. So if you've done annotation on a text, a PDF, or a IIIF image, that you can export those annotations as CSV. On TEI text, which is how we handle for the most part, although we can do plain text as well, but on TEI, if you can export the document itself with annotations embedded, and what those do is they become a standoff element in the TEI header and that are anchored down into the actual markup of the text. At the moment, we don't have a way of exporting, apart from the CSV, we don't have a way of exporting annotations on a IIIF image, but that's kind of tantalizing, we hope, very near future possibility, and we just have to sort out questions of permissions and kind of consent to making things public. This has been built very much with a focus on compliance with GDPR. It's intended for classroom use and for the sort of respect of students' privacy and the whole GDPR set of guidelines for privacy. So we need to give some careful thought to how export of student annotation would work on, for example, a derivative IIIF manifest, but we very much want to do that. Reiner, anything else to say about that?
Yeah, to quickly chip in. So there is also an export API, which just gives you the annotations in web annotation format, which is, I guess, essentially very close, at least to IIIF. So it's something that we could build into a manifest. At the moment, the web annotation format export is governed by the same privacy rules as the CSV export. But yeah, as Jamie says, I think it's mostly really a matter of figuring out what the permissions should be, and people would probably be able to download it, but it would not become a publishing platform as such.
Right. Reiner, there's another question that came up earlier on, also from Brittany, about named entity recognition and named entity markup. This is another thing that has been kicked around as a very near future next feature. Do you want to say more about sort of how we're thinking about that?
Yeah, that of course is one thing that the old Recogito had. So the new Recogito Studio doesn't have it, and we were very so it was a deliberate choice to narrow it down to kind of a core use case, like collaborative annotation for texts and for images, and everything else, like named entity recognition, like geotagging and whatnot, would be more like a plugin that would extend the core platform. So the geotagging plugin was the first plugin we built. It's not even quite ready yet, I would say, but it's also an experimental thing, which was built 50% with the intention of building a geotagging plugin, or 40%, and 60% with the extension of actually designing the mechanism by which we would be able to extend Recogito in the future. So of course, attaching things like named entity recognition services, or I don't know, automatic segmentation for images, or could be a similar example. That's very much on our mind. As Jamie says, I think NER might be one of the next things on the horizon, but it's, yeah, there is nothing that exists at the moment yet, and we are trying to get more kind of community around it. But yeah, it's on the roadmap as one of the next steps.
Great. Thank you both so much for those demos. That's very helpful. Further questions, of course, are more than welcome. I might just talk a little bit about well, I think we've touched on a few things that are on the roadmap. One is the ability to not only bring a IIIF manifest in and annotate those images, but then to create a derivative manifest with annotations either embedded in it or attached to it, and make those, use this as an annotation server platform as well. Just have to work out how consent and sort of how we deal with permissions for that. We're also going to be working in the near future on features which are intended to support art historians and art instructors in art history, creating kind of instance-wide collections of images for use by students in assignments. Yeah, further work on the kinds of NER and maybe automated annotation by machines that Reiner mentioned as well.
Okay, so we have a fairly large group for us today. It looks like we have plenty of time for Q&A. So I will say, if you have a burning question, feel free to unmute and just say it. If you would rather not speak up, feel free to type it into the chat and then I'll read it for you.
I'm interested in hearing more about how to actually use the software. Is there a hosted solution? Is Docker the preferred way to install it?
Yeah, sure. Good question. So we do have fairly extensive and pretty good documentation at this point for installing this on using Docker on your own infrastructure if you'd like to. I would not characterize it as for the faint of heart or the non-technical audience at this point. That may or may not eventually be the case, that it's really easy for a non-technical person to install, or for someone without familiarity with Docker. But for now, that's the case. In the meantime, yes, we are offering it as a hosted solution, and there's a link on the recogitostudio.org page that allow you to get to a form you can fill out to request that from us. We'd be happy to walk you through it again, hear more about what you need. Yes, so that's definitely an option.
Okay, thanks.
It's not a question. I think it's very nice in the interface. And also I also have developed, like I worked on a project that are very similar. But then we use LTI for separating the groups of annotations. I wonder how this is done on the Recogito.
Gotcha. So by LTI, you mean learning technologies interoperability, sort of the...
Yes, the interoperability.
Gotcha. Yeah, good question. So the way that, those kind of that visibility and sort of layer separation is handled entirely inside the platform at this point. We don't yet have LMS integration at all. We've heard from different parties that LMS integration would be very desirable, and we would be thrilled to build that. We sort of just need the project to come along that wants it to build that in. And then I think it would be I wouldn't say trivial, because it's typically not trivial to do anything with LTI or LMS integration, but it's certainly possible to then map. We have, all of the data structures are in place to map permissions and authorization for given objects or given layers of annotations into another system. So it's certainly possible. Yeah, we just haven't done any LMS integration yet.
Yeah, thank you.
We do have the ability, and have done actually for a number of installations, to do a single sign-on integration. So we've got SAML support in the platform, which makes it easy to bring your own IDP. We host the thing, and it's integrated into sort of using your identity provider as the authentication mechanism. So that's in place now. It's very easy to do. I'll drop another mention in here of something that I think we didn't quite cover. We did talk a little bit about this geotagging plugin that already exists. Reiner's built that in a really nice way, which makes it possible to attach it to any one of a number of different gazetteer backends, including the World Historical Gazetteer, Wikidata, Pleiades, or any GeoJSON. Essentially, it's a GeoJSON object or a GeoJSON file you can load directly into the platform. So it's like a pretty nice wide range of different ways to support geotagging. Very similar approach might be taken to not just named entities, but controlled vocabularies when we get to adding that plugin as well. So that's kind of a nice point of integration. Is the Pelagios Recogito still going to be maintained, or will it be replaced? Reiner, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, no, it hasn't been maintained since 2019. I mean, I looked at it in my spare time and kept it running, and it's still running. It's kept running for free at my former employer's basement basically. So, but they don't really have an incentive to keep it running if stuff breaks. So that's also why we're trying to get Recogito Studio up to speed as quickly as possible, and also maybe offer ways for people to migrate old Recogito projects into Recogito Studio eventually. There is also already an instance of Recogito Studio specifically for the Pelagius network. So if you want to keep using, if you want to start using Recogito Studio, you can become a member of the Pelagius network, and then you get an account at the Pelagius instance for free. So yeah, in short, the old Recogito will be running as long as it runs, but I would definitely keep backups, and you should take a look at the new Recogito Studio, which is definitely going to replace the old one.
Thanks for that question, and keep them coming. I might mention, in addition to respond to Ben's earlier question about hosting, as I mentioned, it is self-hostable. We'd be glad to host it for you. The way it would work would be, would give you a entire instance of your own with no limits on any kind of number of people who can use it or amount of data you could load into it. The other option for those who just want to kind of try it out for a little while is that we can offer an account on a single instance that we host. It would be a time limited type of thing and wouldn't be a permanent home for your data or your users. But if that's something that folks are interested in, hit the link on that page and fill out the form. We'd be glad to set you up with an account where you can actually get in there and use it to understand better what it does. So that's also an option. We'd welcome that.
I'd also be interested in learning a little more about the CSV export. What exactly is being exported, and is it possible to export all annotations from the entire collection?
Great question. Reiner, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so first of all, the CSV annotation export is kind of different, at least from the old ways in which Recogito annotations were exported. Personally, I think it's more useful. So it exports based on the level of the comment. So you don't get one line per annotation, but you get one line per comment. So it's really geared towards exporting conversations. So that's what the CSV export does. We do have options for downloading all the annotations on a document. And I think, I'd need to double check this, but I think there are also options to download in bulk all the annotations in an assignment. So that's like a group session for students. And also all annotations in a project, which then can contain multiple assignments. So I think all those levels are available for CSV export.
Yes,
and
you can do like the individual documents versus assignments versus the entire kind of project. So you can do the different levels.
And that's the biggest unit. So you can't download more than the project, but the project is sort of the ultimate unit in Recogito Studio.
So it includes the comment, of course, but it also includes the name of the person who left the comment?
Yes, it includes
along with
the comments, tags, the quote if it's a text annotation, or the coordinates of the shape if it's an image annotation. What else? I think that's probably it. Timestamp of last edit, things like that.
Rafael has a question, which is, can links be created between annotations, like a wiki page?
No, but that's almost the immediate next feature before. Yeah, for me, it's the next feature after the one that I'm working on now, and that's maybe also worth mentioning. I find it pretty exciting. It's PDF export. So we will also have an export where you can annotate the PDF document in Recogito, and then you can download the PDF and you have the annotations embedded in the PDF and can see the annotations from Recogito in any PDF viewer like Acrobat or whatever. So that's what I'm working on currently. And then the next one will be this kind of linking, deep linking. So you have a URL which will take you to the interface of the document and open it right at the annotation. And also you can paste those links into annotations themselves and link between annotations, and they will get a little bit of formatting. So that's kind of a simple way to achieve this, but that's coming, as the next feature.
Brandon, we have a question from John more about the provenance of edits from the multiple users. Did you already cover that one? The provenance of edits from the multiple users in your own system, or can you add it via some metadata to manifest in annotations enable export import with the same data. That's in the chat.
Yes, I can see it. Well, so yeah, in the backend, all the provenance is stored. So you have, of course, the identity of the user in terms of the user account ID, not like a personal thing, but the user account ID, who has created a comment, who has created a reply, and when this was created. In terms of how it's exposed, that's a different matter. In the user interface, you also only see it's kind of the screen name and the timestamp, and then different export formats have different ways of exposing that. So in the CSV, we're exposing everything, the full provenance, under the assumption that people who have access to the CSV download also have kind of the permission given by whoever runs the project that they are allowed to see everything. When you export things like to TI, we are limited a little bit more also in terms of what TI supports. So we do export kind of user IDs, at least screen names. How we would represent it in a manifest, I don't quite know, because I don't yet know how a user ID would look in a manifest. I guess you'd have to have a URI for a user, which technically we do have, but we haven't looked into that in detail yet. But in the backend, everything's there, yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose it might be possible to allow user profiles to include a universally dereferenceable, identifiers, ORCID IDs, and that kind of thing, so that you could theoretically have an understanding of who did the annotation. I guess the bigger question there remains, if you have the expectation that your annotations are private because they're done in an authenticated environment, then how do we make sure that you have an opportunity to give consent for that annotation then to become public? But that's a bigger can of worms.
Yeah.
There's another question there from
another
Damien.
Question from Damien. First of all, hi, nice to see you. It's been some time. So the question is about whether I'm aware of anybody working on medieval itineraries. So no, I'm not aware. And I mean, Recogito Studio is really new, and it's also geared to the classroom. So I think in the scholarly community, it hasn't had the visibility yet, but I think it would be suitable. So yes, we did have problems, as you say, finding suitable gazetteers, and also that's something that informed the way we set up the new geotagging plugin. With the new geotagging plugin, there are some kind of the usual suspects that are available out of the box. So you can use Wikidata, you can use the World Historical Gazetteer, but this time you're also able to simply upload your own gazetteer as a GeoJSON file. So if you have your own data set and say, that's my gazetteer, and it's curated, and it might be only for me and my research group, but it has all the places that I need, then you can simply use that as a gazetteer source in the new geotagging plugin. If you have an interest, I can show you how that works. You have to publish it somewhere web accessible by, for example, putting it into a GitHub repository. But then you can easily configure this as a source for your own tags. And I think that's kind of useful.
Showing the plugin customization on the screen share, so you can select the data source here.
Exactly.
You can also change the base map. So again, same with the custom tile set, as opposed to the ones that are already kind of built in and provided.
Yeah, it's early days for this plugin, so this is certainly going to grow. But yeah, this, of course, since it's a GeoJSON file, it has limitations in terms of the size. But we've done this with PlayIDs, which is like 40,000 places. So I think that's the kind of limit that you're looking at. Anything more, you'd have to handle differently.
That's enough for me. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that question. Other questions or thoughts? I posted a link into the chat to, I think, with most people have seen now, and thanks, Caitlin, for posting that one as well. There's a direct link that reaches us. We get an email and we can respond to you if you have interest in any aspect of what we've talked about.
Okay, any last questions? I never like to cut anyone off unless they're furiously typing in the background. Ben, do you have one?
No.
Okay.
I can also share a spreadsheet if you want to see it, but it's not a CSV export of the one that we were just looking at. So you can just get a sense of what comes out in the CSV export. So you get the annotation ID, which document it's from. Here I had multiple layers, so I had the different sections. Since it's IIIF, we've got the geometry, what the body thing was, the purpose, and then information about this.
Yeah, I was really thinking in terms of grading, how useful the CSV would be to, get a sense for which students are annotating where and how many times.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for inviting us to chat with you today. This has been really a privilege and a pleasure. And yeah, we welcome any feedback you may have or questions. Feel free to be in touch. Thank you so much, Caitlin, for inviting us.
This was great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And as a preview, I think Jamie and maybe some other folks from Performant will be at the online meeting. So if any of the people in your groups missed today and they want to get some more information, please send them that way. Thank you all for taking the time today, and we will see you all soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.